Most people want to be wealthy, but many don't do what it takes. Not because it's a complicated system, but because it requires us to build and grow good money habits. The good news is that it's never too late to begin building wealth, but we must know what hurdles are there that could trip us up. Here are 8 ways we often sabotage our best-laid financial plans without knowing. When we know what to look for, we can stop ourselves from disrupting our financial future. So let's begin. Number 8, you don't have clear financial goals. Imagine driving your car without a specific destination in mind. If you do this for real, more often than not, you'll find yourself driving in circles and end up arriving nowhere. The same is true for building wealth. If you don't have clearly defined goals, such as a wealth target or a purpose for accumulating wealth, you're likely to never get there. Without specific goals, even the best-laid financial plans will fail. This is why you must be able to answer questions like why you want to accumulate wealth, how much wealth you want to accumulate, and how long you want to accumulate that wealth. Determine these before developing a strategy for achieving your financial goals. And remember, be realistic with yourself and your numbers. Impossible goals will throw you off the road to wealth. Number 7, you love instant gratification. Do you want to know the biggest reason most people won't ever achieve true wealth? If you guessed it's the increasing number of layoffs in the corporate world, increasing inflation, or the rising cost of consumer debt, we disagree. In truth, it's our long-standing obsession with instant gratification. We understand it feels good to get what you want exactly when you want it, but that has its own terrible consequences in the long run, like being perpetually broke, regardless of how much money you make. This happens because when you focus on fulfilling more immediate cravings, the tendency to spend recklessly and to cut back on savings is high, which in turn defers your financially stable future. For instance, if you spend $1,000 on an unplanned vacation just to satisfy your immediate desire, you didn't only miss out on saving $1,000, but you've robbed yourself of future financial stability. That $1,000 spent is now gone forever. But if you'd put that money into savings or an investment, it could have earned you interest that would have compounded to build wealth substantially over the years. In truth, that $1,000 could have become $10,000, $20,000, or even $50,000 over decades. Number 6, you never pay off your credit card in full. What goes hand in hand with instant gratification? Spending money you don't have. Our world is nearly obsessed with buying first and paying later, sometimes without having any clue if they'll be able to pay off that money in the future or not. And that's where the problem lies. Once you buy something, the transaction is done. But when you buy it on credit, you are stuck with the consequences of a bill coming due. The bigger problem is if you buy with a credit card and don't pay off the balance in total, the item's cost ends up being much higher than what you saw on the sticker price. For instance, if the earlier $1,000 unplanned vacation was done with a 20% interest rate credit card, that trip then becomes a $1,200 bill. The other issue with credit cards lies in the almost invisible charges, like yearly fees, just for using the card, balance transfer fees, cash advance charges, and late fees. The point is, you'll save a lot of money if you just pay your credit card balance in full and on time. Number 5, you don't have or follow a budget. Making a budget is one of the most effective ways to save a lot more money to achieve your financial goal of building wealth. With a budget, you can determine exactly how much goes out of your pocket and how much comes in. You get to see where your money is going, where it comes from, and where there might be room to spend less. So if you don't stick to a budget, you risk walking around literally clueless about how much your expenses actually cost you. Without this piece of information, you're in jeopardy of making poor decisions with your money. This means that if you haven't started budgeting yet, or if you're inconsistent in creating and sticking to one, you really need to reconsider. Because many big financial goals, such as building wealth, require planning and forethought. Spend an evening with your most recent bank statement, review your expenditures, and figure out which unnecessary expenses could be eliminated. Number 4, you don't save proactively. As effective as having and sticking to a budget is, if you wait around for money to save itself to achieve the financial future you want, it will never happen. No one trips into wealth. You have to understand that wealth won't just happen to you. You have to make deliberate choices to build toward it. The first choice is to make a proactive decision about how much to spend and how much to save. Without this, it's easy to hit the panic button when money crises arise. The solution is to be proactive. No matter how old you are, it's never too late to take control of your money and to have it work for you for the rest of your life. And if you figured you're far behind in your savings, then start a side hustle or get a part-time job to make extra income to boost up your wealth nest egg. Number 3, you don't make saving a consistent habit. On the flip side of saving proactively is inconsistency in savings due to impatience. Of course, we understand it feels more natural to dream of receiving $1 million inheritance from an imaginary relative or winning the lottery. But when it comes to reality, wealth isn't usually something that happens overnight. The reality is, you're more likely to build wealth by working hard for years and setting aside money from every paycheck and investing so that it compounds over decades. If you're in your 30s and dream of having enough money to retire at 60, that dream may be little more than a fantasy if you don't have the patience to save, invest, and grow your finances. Number 2, you believe you're too young to begin saving. If your plan is to retire earlier than the average of 68 or 70, then time is your best friend. So planning while you're young is crucial. Understand that no one is too young to start planning their financial future. In fact, the earlier you start, the more time your savings and investments will have to compound, which means you'll get to enjoy higher returns on your investments. Also, if you wait until you're older to start saving and investing, you'll need to put aside much more money per paycheck than you would if you'd simply started saving and investing earlier. Starting while you're younger gives you more time to build your discipline and patience, helping you to sharpen your money habits. This way, as time goes by, it doesn't become harder to put money aside. Now, before we tell you the last thing on our list that stops most people from building wealth, if you've gotten this far and haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, please do. It really helps us out. Now let's take a look at one of the biggest ways we sabotage our attempts to build wealth. Number 1, you spend more money than you save. The mantra, treat yourself, is cool, but taking it too far has negative consequences if your goal is to build wealth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking time to occasionally reward yourself, but too many spending sprees will most likely come back to bite you, bringing with it debt, anxieties, and all kinds of money stress. You don't have to eliminate all fun spending, but consider where, how, and how much you can cut out. Make asking yourself, do I really need this, a constant question in your life. If it's something that you just happened across while waiting in a checkout line, chances are you don't need it. Put it back. It's really difficult to build wealth if you overspend through impulsive purchases. Spending more than you save is an easy way to ruin your wealth-building desire. If you can cut back some splurging, you'll free up more money to build wealth. In the end, it's better to be richer in your later years when you should be pursuing your own goals, achieving self-fulfillment, and leaving a lasting legacy, rather than scraping by for food and survival. The sooner you turn things around, the more you can save and invest to build your wealth. To find out other ways to save, check out our video on 7 ways to save more. We hope you learned something new today. See you in the next one.